I've thought a lot about this business of integrity and transparency, as many of you have. And I think too often we confuse the word integrity with honesty. And honesty is a part of integrity, but honesty isn't integrity. When you say something has integrity, think of something like Star Wars and a spaceship. If a spaceship loses its integrity, what you're really saying is it somehow is invaded and the external environment gets in and it's lost its seal. When we're talking about wholeness, we're talking about completeness either of a person or of an organization. And we're talking about integration of the systems and integration of the parts so that you know that one thing is related to another thing, is related to another thing in ways that has coherence. And so when you say something has lost its integrity, for example, you blow up a balloon and you pierce the balloon, what you've really done is destroyed the integrity. Breaking its seal, it's fine. But if it's a very fragile system, and all you've got to do is pound it a little too hard and it blows up. There's other kinds of things that you punch on them. You ever seen a beanbag? And it's hard to destroy the integrity of a beanbag because the beanbag just kind of goes with the flow. And so it's much more resilient and has much more potential of maintaining its integrity because of the way it's put together. So when we talk about integrity, we're talking about the wholeness. The same thing is true of a person. If a person's values and beliefs are coherent, then you can talk about them being predictable. You can count on them to be whole. But if a person believes one thing over here and something else over there, and they're mutually exclusive kind of concepts, and we say the person has no integrity, they may be people who believe two things that simply can't be held together. And as a consequence, you can't predict which belief is going to come into play. And so when you make a decision, you have to wait to find out, and the person may be making a decision perfectly consistent with his beliefs or her beliefs, but her beliefs or his beliefs may be inconsistent. And so what you wind up with is someone who behaves inconsistently because their beliefs are inconsistent rather than behaving inconsistently with their beliefs. It's quite easy to say, well, that person doesn't practice what he preaches. Well, it depends on, he might be preaching two different sermons. You know, one sermon says this and another sermon says that. And you can see how that plays out. So when we really think about organizational integrity and personal integrity as well, I found the concept, as an old sociological concept, of the normative order highly useful. Sociologists used to talk about the normative order. And what they meant was that set of norms that gives order to social life in any human group. It orders it. It puts it together in some way. And it says, this is a thing that gives the organization or the human group its integrity. You can count on it. You can depend on it. You know that that's how it will act. It prescribes and proscribes behavior in the group or the organization. The normative order simply says, this is what is acceptable, this is what is required, this is what will be tolerated. For example, I happen to have on a long-sleeve shirt today, which is a bit deviant in this culture right now. It's a little warm out there. But it turned out last night I spilled butter on the shirt I meant to wear today, and I happened to have this extra shirt stuck in my bag, and I know I had to have one for tomorrow morning. I only had two shirts, so I thought, well, I'll wear the long-sleeve one today. I don't think any of you thought about it until I just mentioned it. And if you did, you would have been too kind to say anything about it. Had I come in here with nothing but a T-shirt on, I'm talking about my white underwear T-shirt, some of you probably would have noticed it, but you still would have been polite enough not to mention it. Had I come in here with no shirt on and no T-shirt on, we'd probably had some people looking. Because I pushed the norms beyond that which can be tolerated. So norms are not simply prescriptions. They're proscriptions and they're bands of acceptable behavior. And we need to understand when we talk about the normative order, we're talking about what are those limits that are prescribed. And in different circumstances, things are prescribed differently. For example, burning the flag in peacetime is a very different thing than burning a flag in wartime. Now, many people don't like burning the flag anytime. But when you're confronted with an outside enemy, signs of internal friction are much less tolerated than if you're not confronted with an outside enemy. So the norms change depending upon the content. Norms don't change, but the band within which the norms operate change. Norms also define, the normative order defines the rules and the roles and the relationships that are appropriate. When you talk about how do you behave, for example, I'll give you an example from today. I was sitting out at the table, and a person who's known me for some time walked up and said, "Hi, Phil," I mean Dr. Schlechte, and was seeking permission to be called me Phil. Well, fine with me to call me Phil, call me anything except late for dinner. In fact, in our place, except when Tina answers my phone, and that's a habit that comes over from Jefferson County Public Schools, we don't talk to anybody about doctor. I don't put doctor behind my name when I sign my letter to you. It's Phil Schlechte. It's not Dr. Schlechte. We got some people on our staff that have PhDs, and we got some people who don't have PhDs, and we don't doctor each other to death. Now, there are times when you use the doctor because it helps gain something you want. I've got one card, my personal American Express card, that has Dr. Schlechte on it. All the rest of them just say Philip Schlechte. And the reason, when I want to really push somebody real hard, I pull out my doctor card, because they don't know whether I'm the kind of doctor that can do you any good or whether, it's a PhD. And so, but do you see what I'm saying about norms? And we have to understand they describe relationships between people. And when I say relationships, I'm not talking about whether I like you and you like me. But what is the power relationship? What's the status relationship? Is the status higher or lower? All those things are part of the normative order. And finally, all these things, these rules, roles, relationships, these prescriptions and proscriptions for behavior are all embedded in a set of beliefs and values and commitments. That's the culture. And so the culture and the structure, taken together, constitute what we call the normative order. And if we want to talk about organizational integrity, we have to really talk about the integrity of the normative order.